crossing the internet. Paul Ryan says that he voted for Donald Trump in early voting last week. What will that mean to the election? We're going to discuss that coming up. But let's get some historical perspective about what this election means, especially what we just heard out of the FBI, this newest October surprise. Take a listen to this.
This is the biggest scandal since Watergate. Hillary Clinton wants to blame everyone else for her mounting legal troubles. But she has brought this situation onto herself. She's got nobody to blame but herself.
It's interesting. That's exactly what Trump's critics say about all the litigation that he's facing. But let's get to the matter at hand. He says this is the worst scandal since Watergate. Let's get some perspective on what this means. We got smart people who know history for you. CNN presidential historian and history professor at Rice University, Douglas Brinkley, and senior editor for The Atlantic, David Frum, who's got a very interesting facial growth today. Mr. Frum, we start with you. This notion of the October surprise is out the window, and they happen every week. But what happens with the email, with Comey coming out with no email proof underneath it, but this suggestion, 10 days from an election, how big?
Smallish. Look, at the core of these email allegations is the charge that Hillary Clinton mishandled classified information. That happens a lot in Washington. People sometimes lose their security clearances for it. Sometimes they have to resign their jobs. On rare occasions where they act with malice and intention, they face criminal charges. But most of the time, resignation is the penalty. It's important if there is classified information. It is not equal to the allegation that a foreign power is attempting to manipulate American election. That has not happened since the 1790s when revolutionary France tried to sway the United States into war on its side.
Good pivot. Point for you, Frum. So, Professor, what David's saying is, all right, if we want to talk about that holistically, what's going on with the emails, let's focus on the hacking. That's the part that may be of historic proportions, Russia's involvement in destabilizing an election to great effect. What do you say?
I agree with that. I think historians are going to look back at that being a key part of 2016, the very thought that Russia is trying to interfere with our elections. I mean, cybersecurity is the single most important foreign policy objective of the United States. Now, how do we stop this from happening? I mean, if we can hack into people like John Podesta, they can hack into just about anybody. I also wanted to say, I think we've got to stop the word October surprise, because it seems to me right now what we're going through are just bombshell after bombshell in October. Surprise sounds something quaint, you know, like from the 1980s. But we're now hitting these Octobers where every day or every week at least somebody is coming out with something unbelievably inflammatory, whether it's Access Hollywood tapes or the Comey affair. It's brutal out there right now.
Well, it's true. It sounds better when you said it, but I was making the same point when we started this segment. And Trump, unwittingly, in saying this is the worst scandal since Watergate, he's right, but not because of Hillary Clinton. It's because of what you're talking about. That was a felony, what happened with Nixon and his associates at that time. This is a felony that happened with the hacking. Now, when you look at what the professor just said, David, forget October surprise, they happen too often. October 1st, you had the Times with his Trump's 95 tax return that just leaked out a little bit of what he's been trying to hide from people and continues to do. Then the 7th, WikiLeaks has the treasure trove on Clinton being paid for Wall Street speeches. The 8th, a release of recording of Trump and that Access Hollywood ugliness. The 28th, and of course, is the Comey bomb coming out. When you look at these, which matters? Do any matter? Do any matter because can anybody's mind be changed?
Well, they matter in this way. They matter in that the Democratic constituencies include a large number of people who are thinly motivated to vote. I mean, it's no secret Democrats draw more strength from the less affluent, the less educated, people less committed to the political process. If they get the idea, everybody's equally bad, they're likely to stay home, and that hurts Democrats disproportionately. But notice that list of bombshells. Those are not equivalent bombshells. The news of Hillary Clinton's speeches to Goldman Sachs, I would certainly feel bitter if I'd paid $350,000 and that's what I got. And likewise, these Comey revelations, these are not big reveals. Meanwhile, the discovery that a nominee for president bragged about how he liked to grab women, or the revelation that he hopes to profit from a hostile foreign powers manipulation of a U.S. election. You know, one are little firecrackers that you set off at a Tet ceremony. The other, these are real blockbusters that bring down city blocks.
How will the history books be written on this, Professor, in terms of how people make sense of how Donald Trump said so many outrageous things, offended so many, had so much come out about him that would be disqualifying for anyone else, and yet survived, if not won the election?
Well, it was sort of, he was cast as a P.T. Barnum figure, and everybody kind of enjoys that, the great showman, and Hillary Clinton is kind of Joan of Arc of America, and it became, I think, a reality TV show, and it's one that went haywire. It's like Frankenstein's story. Became a monster, and now we're all living with it, and there's a dark cloud hanging over the land, and Donald Trump saying that the election's going to be rigged, and Hillary Clinton is attacking the FBI, and everybody wants the election to end. And it went on for over 2 years. So we've got to kind of reassess what we're doing with these presidential elections. They're supposed to be an enhancement of our democracy. Instead, I think 2016 has seemed to debilitate all that's best in the American spirit.
Yeah, may I take a slice at that? How did we come to this point? We came because some of the most important issues in American life, immigration, the effect of trade on those who are not globally competitive, had been left to the margins of society, because as much as Democrats and Republicans disagree on those issues that were so important to so many people, we had an elite consensus that they were not to be discussed. Gang of Eight, everybody agreed on immigration. NAFTA and TPP, everybody agreed on that. Those important issues were left for irresponsible actors when they should have been dealt with by responsible actors. And if we have another immigration consensus after this election, it'll be even worse.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Appreciate the perspective. Allison?
All right, Chris, House Speaker Paul Ryan announced